When my brother finally understood what I was saying, the anger drained from his face. His expression shifted into something I had never seen before, pure fear. Together, we moved slowly through the house, flipping on every light as if brightness alone could undo what had happened. The silence felt heavier now, like the house itself was holding its breath. That's when we saw it. Drawers pulled open, cabinets hanging wide, electronics gone, the TV from the living room, gaming consoles, things that couldn't be mistaken for accidents. Someone had been inside our home for a long time, long enough to feel comfortable, long enough to walk into my bedroom, while I hid just feet away. The police arrived not long after. Their flashlights swept through rooms that already felt violated. They asked questions, took notes, and reassured us in voices that didn't sound convincing. They said break-ins like this happen fast, but I knew better. Whoever it was didn't rush. They lingered. When my parents arrived at nearly 4 in the morning, the house felt unfamiliar. My dad was furious at my brother, at the situation, at himself. My mom wrapped her arms around me and whispered that I was safe. But I didn't feel safe. Not anymore. That night didn't end when the sun came up. It followed me. For years afterward, every sound in the dark brought me right back to that closet. Every creak, every shadow, every slow footstep outside my door. That was the night I learned how thin the line really is between safety and terror. But that wasn't the first time someone dangerous had entered my life, and it definitely wasn't the last. Before I was even in kindergarten, I lived with my grandparents in a quiet town where nothing ever seemed to happen. Everyone knew everyone. Doors were left unlocked. Neighbors came and went like family. One of those neighbors was a man I'll call David. David wasn't a stranger. He drank with my uncle, helped my grandpa with yard work, watched hockey with the family. That's why I trusted his voice when he knocked on the door that night. I was alone. My grandma was at bingo. My grandpa had just left to pick her up. When David said his name, my guard dropped. He said he'd seen my grandpa leave, said my uncle wasn't home. Everything he said made sense, until he stepped inside. He was drunk, towering over me, his hands locked onto my shoulders, and suddenly the house didn't feel safe anymore. His voice changed, the warmth disappeared, and when he grabbed a knife from the kitchen, my childhood ended in an instant. I remember the blade pressing against my stomach. I remember the cold metal dragging across my throat, and I remember thinking I wasn't going to survive. Then headlights flooded the room. My grandparents were home. What happened next was chaos, screaming, shouting, rage unlike anything I'd ever seen. My grandpa charged him without hesitation. David shoved me aside, and my grandma shielded me as I heard the struggle behind us. David was gone within minutes, and no one ever spoke of him again. Years later, after my grandpa passed away, I brought up that night. I called him a hero. My grandma didn't smile. She looked uncomfortable, almost afraid. She mentioned something I barely remembered. That same night, my grandpa went hunting. Late. No police report was ever filed. David was never seen again. To this day, I don't know what truly happened after my grandpa forced him out the door. But sometimes, the scariest stories are the ones that end quietly.